Good morning, everybody. We are back to Big Men of Campus, and we are live NFL Week 14 preview. My name is Jeff. They call me the Big Men on Campus. Here with my co-host Ryan. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing well, man. Doing real well. Yep. Thanks. Big day today. I mean, we're coming in the last quarter of the NFL season. Teams are gearing up for playoffs. Trying to make that final push for some teams. It's a winter wonderland in some cities today. So I think today NFL football is going to be fun. I know some people are blasé about it, but I got a feeling today is going to be a pretty good day.
Yeah, I mean it's winter wonderland like you said in plenty of places, and you really got to look at that when you're capping your games. But yeah, I mean. Green Bay, it's snowing here, but, I mean, they don't play for several hours, so that could change. As far as here at the show, we've done very well, Ryan, with this podcast. We break every NFL game down, regardless of opinion, regardless of how we feel about the game. We had a mission statement to break down every game, whether we want to break it down or not, and we've done real well with it, Ryan. 39-24. Over the last 6 weeks. The first 6 weeks we had shows very sporadically. We all had, we were doing a lot of things. There's one week we were in Michigan. Certain weeks we just weren't around. We've 62%. Look, you can say what you want. I mean, we just do this for fun. We don't try to ask for anything. We just enjoy the NFL and try to give out winners every week. So, 62%, Ryan, nothing to sneeze about. Pretty good, isn't it?
Not at all. Yeah, I mean we've been kind of rolling here, and we've had some good experiences here over the last, like you said, about month and a half. So we've kind of got things rolling, and we're into the last quarter of the season. So let's hope we finish the way we've kind of started.
Yep, playoff scenarios are abound. There are teams that have, obviously are done. They don't have much to play for. There's a lot of that coming up here, so you definitely have to make aware of that. Do we need a bird's eye view at all times of Lambeau Field, Ryan? Is that something we have to have on TV right now?
Yeah, they get excited over the.
I mean, really,
the
game's up for another 5 hours?
It's snow, man. That's. It's cool when it comes to football. I think watching football in the snow. I mean, we experienced it a couple years ago with the Eagles-Lions game. It's pretty epic. I mean, it's not something you see very often, but I would agree. Like a little bird's eye view in the corner of the screen, is that necessary? Like, is that going to be there the entire show? I mean, do we need to see like tractors plowing snow out of the? I mean,
it's just another overreaction
by ESPN. That's what they do.
But let's jump in everything here. We will start out in Tennessee, which Ryan, I got a tweet earlier. One of our listeners, he's at the game right now. They're tuning in. So shout out to him.
Very cool.
I got to get back to I think Jason Riley's his name.
Okay.
He listens to the show. I think he's there with his son.
Well, that'll be a fun experience.
Yeah, thanks for listening. I think he goes to every game, but look, there he is. How about that?
Very cool.
Very
couple
cool.
Mariota jerseys.
Looks like nice weather at least down there. And look, let's break it down. Around 1 o'clock East, you get the Tennessee Titans laying 1.5 here. How about this line? Tennessee's laying points at home against the Broncos. Over under is 43.5. Weird division, the AFC South. 3 teams at 6-6 vying for a playoff spot. This is a bad division, but Tennessee's right there, Ryan.
Yep.
They're right there. And Marcus Mariota's been fantastic. 2 or more touchdowns in 8 straight games. There's my girl, Ryan. Simeon will play today. He's probable. So that's a obviously good get back from the Denver Broncos. Don't have to worry about Paxton Lynch, kind of get their guy back. Is he fully healthy, though? That's kind of the big thing. I heard earlier reports this week that he was in a walking boot still.
He's not in a walking boot anymore.
I heard earlier, though, this week he was, which is odd. I don't know. Either way, he's going to play today. They're going to need him. Denver's been a very good team as an underdog, Ryan. They've won 3 or 4 this year as an underdog and covered. And over the last 10 games as a dog, they're 8-2 against the spread. So as an underdog, they're not an underdog often, but when they are, they've gotten the job done. Got to wonder, will Tennessee's inability to cover rear its ugly head here today, Ryan? This team, we know, not a good ATS team. 4-8 this year against the spread. And over the last 3 years, 11-31 against the spread. So we've talked about it before with Tennessee. they've looked good, but are they a team you really want to back on a regular basis? One other thing, Ryan, listen to this one. Over the last 30 games against the AFC, 5-25 against the spread. So good luck. If you want to back Tennessee, be my guest. Denver's been good against the pass. They've been a little vulnerable against the run, 28th in the league. And look, we mentioned it, Mariota playing well. 21 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions over his last 8 games. You like Tennessee, but do you like their defense? I'm going to go over in this game. I think Tennessee will be able to score. I think that run game will get going here. They should get into the 20s here. I think Denver, with Simeon back, they should be able to score as well against a Tennessee defense that has struggled throughout the year. I'm not particularly into this game. I'm not interested in Tennessee as a favorite or, backing them in general. And Denver, I don't know. Denver looks like a pretty public side here today. Seems like the whole world's going to get on Denver here.
Seems that public has been winning this NFL season.
Yeah.
However, I mean, so
I guess they're in these obvious spots.
To say that it's such a public. Well, that seems to be
right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
I'm just making that point. Let's relax. That's all I'm doing is making that point that it seems like it has been a very public year this year in the NFL. So for certain people that say, "Oh, well, this is a public side. Let me go the other way." Maybe not the best tactics this year. But I'll kind of side with the over. I would actually kind of lean Tennessee. Call me crazy. I know in years past they haven't really been covering, but I think that this is a new Tennessee. I think Tennessee's really starting to make some strides. I know they're only 6-6, but I think going forward, like into next year and so on and so forth, you got to be really encouraged what you're seeing from Mariota. DeMarco Murray's back to his old self, running the football, second in the league in rushing. They have some okay playmakers on the outside. They got to get that defense and pass defense in particular secured a little bit. That's why I think if there's a game, Trevor Siemian, a good game for him to come back on today. It's nice weather against a pass defense that's not very good. Get the ball to your playmakers, Emmanuel Sanders, Demarius Thomas, those guys. Get the ball out quickly in particular. So they should be able to get theirs. The average for the Broncos, 23, 24 points per game. I would expect them to be able to get to that number. Tennessee should be able to score as well. They've been able to really score on anyone. And if there is one piece of vulnerability for the Broncos defense, it's their run defense. You can run on this team, Denver. So I think DeMarco Murray should be able to have a pretty decent-sized game today, and they should be able to score some points. So I'll back the over as well. I think 43, maybe a little low, just simply for the fact that the whole stigma with the Broncos defense being so lights out. But not the same defense as last year or the year before. I think they're a little bit more vulnerable this year.
Yeah, and Mariota's been really good. So, I think we see some points here. I think you're right. I think the total is a little bit low. Look at 47-48. Maybe I'm not as interested, but at 43.5, I'll take a shot with the over here. So we agree over 43.5 Titans Broncos. If Tennessee gets some wide receivers, they might be a top 3 NFC team in the future. Yeah, I mean, Mariota's turning into a star. Murray has been good, and the defense has been.
Like I said, they need to secure that back end up in particular.
That division, I mean, defense has kind of been an option for most of those teams this year. So, yeah, I hear you. Feel free, guys. Again, if you're out there listening, please retweet the show. It is important. I know we get a lot of our regular listeners.
Last point I'll make on this game, too, to kind of support the over, Jeff. Last 4 home games for Tennessee, 28-26, 26-34, 36-22, and 47-25.
Yeah,
high scoring games in particular at home, Jeff.
Right. Retweet the show. Get it to your friends. Communicate with us if you want to on the chat box. If you're going to come on the chat box, don't be a fucking idiot, will you? Thank you. Next one, 1 o'clock Eastern. Panthers pick 'em against the San Diego Chargers, 49 on a total. Carolina 4-8 this year. Can we say last year was a little bit of an aberration with this team? I mean, they got their boy Calvin Benjamin back, but like we said many times, Ryan, early this year, this defense stinks. They're not any good. And Luke Kuechly being out, it only adds to the suckiness of the Carolina defense. Carolina off a 40-7 loss against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle, 534 yards in that game, Ryan. Those are some college numbers. Seattle not a team that should score 40 points and have 534 yards. I don't care who you are. San Diego, I mean, they've been pretty good on the road. Covered 4-6 this year on the road, and they've been good over the last couple of years on the road. 14-8 over the last 22. Carolina hasn't covered, Ryan. 3-8 to the number. And, defensively, it's just hard to really back them. Plus, Cam Newton, less than 50% completion percentage over his last couple games. I mean, he's been brutal lately. I mean, they haven't had much of a run game. That whole thing has been blown up. I mean, they got to get some new running backs out in Carolina. They've been running with that same crap last couple of years. Greg Olsen, okay, but hasn't had a lot of abilities to do much this year. And defensively, they've just been a sieve. I kind of like San Diego in this spot. San Diego seems to win games like this lately. I don't know why. Phillip Rivers, I know he's had some interception issues as well, but I'm just not interested in Carolina. I'm not. I think they're one of the worst defenses in the league. They give up a ton of pass yards per play. Short and sweet. I don't have a ton on this game. I'm going to go with San Diego.
Yeah, I would probably side San Diego as well. I think over is a pretty good play in this game. San Diego games, for whatever reason, seem to kind of be shootouts. And I know they get Kuechly back, but that's not going to all of a sudden.
He's not playing.
That's not all.
I'm seeing no Kuechly.
Oh,
I heard he didn't pass the concussion protocol.
Really, I saw he was full participant in practice this week. So
good.
Okay.
Keep going.
We'll take that
we'll look at it
for what you will, But yeah, like I said, even if he does play, that's all of a sudden not going to make their defense just come around completely. And against the San Diego team, now look, San Diego can score the football. That's one thing that they've been really able to do this year. So and defensively, this team has gotten into some shootouts this year. You look, 33-30 against Atlanta.
Real quick, according to Stephen Reed from the Associated Press, Luke Kuechly inactive will have missed 6 games in the last 2 years. One point I want to make: why even play him the rest of the season? I mean, really? I mean,
for
he's had 6. Yeah. I mean, 6 missed games with concussions. What's the reason?
It's been an issue for him, and that's obviously something you don't want to mess around with, right? And I would agree. If I'm ownership or if I'm Ron Rivera, look, it's like, hey, we're not going to the playoffs. Just sit down and let's get back to it next year. It's a good point, Jeff. But yeah, like I said, some really shootouts for San Diego this year. 43-35 against Tennessee, 28-21 last week against Tampa Bay. So, earlier in the year against Indy and against New Orleans, against Oakland. They've really had some shootouts. San Diego has. I would think overs also a good play in this game, but I can't back
both these teams.
I can't back Carolina.
Both these teams have the worst point differential in the fourth quarter this year.
Yeah.
Panthers minus 63, Chargers minus 57.
That's terrible.
Who wants to win these games today?
Right.
Look, I'll go with the better quarterback here.
Yeah, I'll go. If Rivers, he's a gunslinger. He'll throw some interceptions and whatnot, but at the end of the day, yeah, I'll go with Rivers here. And
I'm really just picking this one because Carolina's been awful against the spread, and
plus it's a short week for Carolina. They just got embarrassed. Is it let's come back and make a statement at home, or is it, hey, we're 4-8, we're out of this thing, let's just put our tails between our legs and go?
I love that whole short week thing. Like 3 hours makes much of a difference. They play at 8 o'clock opposed to 4 o'clock.
No, they played Monday night.
No, Sunday night. They played.
Sunday night. Okay,
either way, I've heard people say that.
I was thinking it was Monday night.
Either people say it's a short week. What was it?
I don't ever use that analogy on the Sunday night game. I was thinking it was Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night was.
That was the Chiefs, or no? That was I can't even remember.
Yeah, I don't even remember half the game. I don't watch them half.
But it was. You're right. It was Sunday night.
So
Monday was that bullshit Jets Colts game.
Oh, right. That's why I didn't remember.
That's why no one remembers, right?
San Diego, we'll go with them here.
We'll go with San Diego.
Pick. All they got to do is win.
Right.
Next one, Bengals minus 5.5 against the Cleveland Browns. Will today be the day, Ryan, that Cleveland gets the first win of the year? By the way, on the Cleveland front, gotta wonder. For as much as the NCAA is like a hawk with things, as much as coaches just continue to say, anything about a player. Why was Johnny Manziel hanging out with Lamar Jackson last night? Did you see that?
Yeah, he was at the presentation and then hanging out with him after.
If you're again, he's
no. Here's the thing: if I'm Lamar Jackson's mother,
right? I'm like, what are you
who
doing?
he like talked about, he loves, they have a great relationship. I'm like, hey, Lamar, like, go hang out with like Charles Woodson, or one of them guys,
right?
Please don't hang out with John.
What do you? They're like in the hotel room together, hanging out,
like ripping shots and stuff.
Yeah, like. But by the way, every picture I saw of Manziel, he had a drink in his hand.
It's terrible.
It's crazy. Speaking of the Browns, 0-12 this year, Ryan. They aren't much better ATS either, 2-10 to the number. They're the worst against the spread team in the NFL, actually. Ryan, Robert Griffin starting today. How about that? Will that change much here? Browns are 0-6 ATS at home this year, but you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they're not much better against the spread. Cincinnati 3-8 ATS, they have not covered a game on the road this year. What will give here? If Cincinnati loses today, you have to say bye-bye Marvin Lewis. You have to. Cleveland, offensive line this year, giving up 45 sacks to about 650 different quarterbacks. How many quarterbacks have started for them this year? I feel like I've seen Bernie Kosar.
Three or four.
Yeah. Cleveland, last 3 games, 9.7 points per game. Not playing well. They have the worst defense in the league, giving up over 29 points a game. And, Cincinnati is off a pretty complete game. Played pretty well against the Eagles. Offense scored 32 points. Your defense was much better. Keep in mind, Eagles did score late in that game, so it did allow them to score 14 points, which is a little less, I think, than they actually should have scored. Look, the Browns have lost 17 straight complete games. Andy Dalton, last 3 games against Cleveland, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for 137 quarterback rating. Listen, the Browns stink. I don't think they're going to win a game this year. We can keep talking about today's going to be the day, but at the end of the day, I said to you last week, I think the Bengals are better on defense than they might lead on. I think you look at their defense, a lot of older guys, but still, Geno Atkins and Pac-Man Jones and Burfict, they definitely have some options. Again, I'm not big into Cincy's offense, but they should do enough to get a double-digit win here, I feel like. You would hope. But Cincinnati, this could be it.
Cincinnati's not a good football team. I think last week was a testament of just how bad of a situation the Eagles are in right now.
Will the Browns win, Ryan? That's the question.
I think if they're going to win a game this year, it's going to be this game.
Yeah.
Because you look at their last 3 games, I believe it's at Buffalo, home against San Diego, and at Pittsburgh. So, 3 of those, I don't think those 3 are very winnable, 2 of which on the road.
Maybe Pittsburgh's like in a situation where they rest people. I don't know.
I don't think that's the case. Yeah. I don't think that's the case. It doesn't look like that'll be the case. So I think if they're going to win, it's going to be this game.
It's hard to. I
haven't bet on Cleveland at all this year. I don't think we've backed them on the show at all this year.
No, we haven't. Actually, we did one time against Tennessee, and they covered.
Oh, okay.
It was like a back door. They were getting like 8 points, and they ended up covering. That was the only time. Right. But I've been a staunch.
You had to get lucky for that.
Yeah, I've been a staunch fader of the Cleveland Browns. I don't get the reasoning.
It's gonna be a cold, snowy day today in Cleveland.
But then you bet Cleveland. It's like same old Cleveland.
Why did I do that?
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
You got RG.
I'm good.
You got RG3 back today.
I'm not betting this game. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not interested. I'm just giving it for the sake of the show.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in Cleveland. They suck on defense.
Yeah.
Do what you want. It's up to you. I feel like if you're going to bet Cleveland, you might as well just bet the money line. Okay, yeah, I'm sure. Call if you like Cleveland, Ryan, take Cleveland. You don't like Cincinnati.
Here's the thing. I don't like either one of these teams, and that's the shitty part about at times that it comes up when we do the show is you get games like this where it's like when I look down the card early Sunday morning, late Saturday night, and I see this game, I'm just like, nope, good. Don't even blink at it. I just pass it aside. For the sake of the show, I'll go Cincinnati. I'll go the slightly better team. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland found a way to win. But at the same time, it is Cleveland, so I'm going to continue to kind of go against them. So I'll take Cincinnati, hoping that maybe last week got them a little, maybe a little momentum to try and finish the season on a high note.
Again, we are pointing out we're not high on this game. We're only choosing it because we have to.
Right.
It's not going to be.
So
a
I mean,
game
this is a
on
game. I mean, there's obviously people out there that are into games like this, or come to us and say, "Hey, can you look at this game?" And it's not particularly a game that we are in love with, but if we can give you some sort of
I will
help
admit,
or insight
on Friday,
to lean one way, so.
I did a little Periscope, kind of breaking out a couple games early on, and you look at Cincinnati, you're like, okay, well, maybe they roll in this game. But then you kind of break it down, and it's like, okay. So I'm going to go with we'll go with the Bengals here, holding our breath. And move on to the next game. Colts laying 6.5 against the Houston Texans, over under 47.5. Ryan, Texans, boy, have they been bad on the road this year. 1-5 ATS. They're scoring 13 points a game, and defensively they've given up 26 points a game. They're the worst offensive team in the NFL on the road. They just have been lost. But again, we point out this conference. Big game in this conference today. This is a huge game. 3 teams tied at 6-6, and this game's going to go a long way in deciding who wins the AFC South. Texans, 20 points or less 8 different times this year. Their offense has been a mess, and they thought it'd be resuscitated with Brock Osweiler. Hasn't been the case. Brock has been bad. Under 60% completion percentage. You look at the Colts. I mean, 29 points a game on the road, but at home, under 23 points a game. Biggest point differential, Ryan, as far as on the road or at home in the league. So they're a shitty team at home. They don't play any defense. I will point out one saving grace for Brock Osweiler. He has been good against this division. 3-0 against the AFC South this year. So, I don't know. Another tough game.
All of those games at home?
Okay.
Were they? No, I mean
I believe so. I mean they've only won. I think twice on the road this year. I don't know. Or no, they've won one time on the road this year. So yeah, most of them came at home. I'm gonna go over, I guess. Texans, I don't think they're as good as people think on defense. I think Andrew Luck will be able to do what he wants on turf. T.Y. Hilton's having a good year. I think the Texans can score. Let's just say they can score 17, 20 points. I think this one's like a 28, 20 type of game, maybe. I'm going to go over. I'm not in love with it, but I'm going to go with it here. I really have no interest in a side here because I'm done with the Texans and the Colts.
Colts are surging right now, man. Colts are playing.
Yeah.
Look, Colts are playing some pretty good football. They've won.
So do you want to go with them?
Yeah, I'm going to actually side with the Colts here.
All right.
I know maybe some people look at this and say it's a high number. I really don't think so. Texans haven't been particularly good on the road. Brock Osweiler has just been a hot mess, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, the Colts defense has been suspect, blah blah blah, this and that. They've actually played better over the last handful of weeks, over this nice little stretch that they're on. I mean, they held Pittsburgh in check for the most part. Only scored 28 points and on Thanksgiving, but I think Osweiler and that offense is going to kind of struggle today. I think they'll get some points, but I just have no interest in backing him. The way that Luck and the way that Hilton and Moncrief and those guys are playing. I like the Colts here. I think the Colts are a team that maybe at the end of the day, I'm actually going to go on a limb and say the Colts are going to win this division. I have a feeling. I don't know. The Colts are just playing some good football right now. It's at home. It's going to be inside on that turf. Maybe try and get Gore going the running game a little bit, open up play action, and so I just don't like what I'm seeing from Houston. A big injury too that kind of leans me to side with the Colts, Jeff. Starting cornerback Joseph for Houston not going to play today, so that's a big loss.
Jonathan
there.
Joseph,
yes.
right?
Had he been in there, maybe a different story. But without him, I'm gonna side with the Colts here.
You're gonna go Colts 6.5.
Yep.
I'm gonna go over 47.5. So let's go with a double dip. Let's go with a 31-21 win for the Colts.
That would work. That would work.
And I could see that totally.
Yeah.
How do you back the Texans? I mean, 20
can't.
points or less in 8 straight games this year. 8 different games this year. Steelers -3 at Buffalo, over under 45.5. I guess we talk about that Britt McHenry. They don't do her many. They don't do her a lot of favors. Setting her up. She's been in like Buffalo, Minnesota.
Yeah.
They don't do a lot of favors, put it that way. Steelers -3 at Buffalo, over under 45.5. Buffalo, off of a bad loss to Oakland. They were winning pretty handily in that game. Were outscored 15-0 in the fourth quarter and lost that game. So again, tough loss for Buffalo. Tyrod Taylor was getting some shit this week from the media. Did you hear that, Ryan? That interview? He was getting some shit from the media there.
Yep.
Steelers are surging, playing well. Won 3 in a row, won and covered 3 in a row. And Big Ben, you look at him, last 4 games, 1,085 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's been slinging the ball around. Ever since that loss to the Cowboys, they have really surged. They're playing well off a nice win against the Giants, a game in which they just kind of controlled the whole way. Ryan, if I told you the defense for the Steelers gives up under 20 points a game, would you believe me? Surprising. I couldn't believe that.
True.
They have really played kind of bend but don't break. Over the last 3 games, you've only given up 10 points a game. And, Pittsburgh, against Buffalo, you have to be good against the run. Pittsburgh, just 6th in the NFL against the run, giving up just 92 yards a game. They're peaking at the right time. They've covered 9 of 12 against the Bills. Just laying 3 here. It is a snowy, kind of cold conditions up in Buffalo, as always, but
some beat writers are saying it's not that players have played in worse, that he expects the team should be able to throw the ball today, which obviously would benefit the Steelers.
I put zero stock in weather in the NFL, unless it's like super windy or something. I just don't really put a lot of stock into it. I'm not a big fan of Buffalo. They, again, very good run offense, but I'm skeptical with Tyrod Taylor throwing the football. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I like the way they played lately. Seems kind of like a sucker bet, but I'm going to take a shot here with them.
I would side Pittsburgh as well. Look, I'm not a fan of the Bills whatsoever. I mean, really, they're an average team. They're 6-6. Yes, LaShawn McCoy is playing today. He's fine. And look, I hate Tyrod Taylor. I think the fact that the contract they gave him in the offseason was a joke. But I'll side with that offense with Pittsburgh. I think they'll be able to score today. Look, it's Pittsburgh. They play in conditions like this all the time in Pittsburgh. They're used to it. It's what they do. Then the AFC North, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore, they're used to playing in these conditions. So that, obviously, I would agree with your sentiment there, Jeff. Weather, not really a big factor for me in this game. I think Buffalo, if they can run the ball some, keep the game close, that's really their only way I think the game stays close. Bell, Brown, those guys, they got the tight end going last week. Pittsburgh did with Green. So I like Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh's playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, and they're, like I said, peaking at the right time, and the defense has been a bend but don't break kind of a defense. And I'm not sure Tyrod Taylor and those guys can exploit them today. So, Buffalo, this is seemingly when they pretty much fade. I think they're going to do it here. So we'll go Steelers -3 in this game. Next one, 1 p.m. Cardinals -2.5 at Miami, over under 43.5. Miami off a 38-6 loss to the Ravens. I didn't know the Ravens
got embarrassed,
score that many points.
Absolutely.
And look, you look at the line here. Public not interested in, or no one's really interested in back in Miami. Miami opened as a 2.5-point favorite. They're now a 2.5-point underdog. So, again, no one really interested in backing the Dolphins here. Arizona, they've been a brutal team on the road this year, Ryan. 1-4 to the number. And we talk about how good their defense is. They've given up 30 points a game on the road this year defensively. So, again, they're not playing well at all. But then you look at Miami. Ryan, over the last 10 games in December, 0-10 against the spread. Another team fading away.
Yeah, they don't play well in December at all. Cold weather, they hate it.
Yeah, Miami, keep in mind, it is at home here. It is pretty windy, from what I understand. Weather might be an issue here. They've played well at home for what it's worth. Miami's 5-1 at home this year, and they've won 6 of 7 overall, other than that last tough loss to the Ravens. Yeah, there's just a lot of good and bad things for both teams here. David Johnson, 100-plus yards from scrimmage in every game this year. Miami can't stop the run. Carson Palmer, will he throw interceptions? I don't know.
Like, don't turn the ball over.
I'll look at this from kind of just from an overall standpoint. I think that Cardinals have more playmakers. I think they have the better offense, clearly. This is one game I really don't want to pick, but I will. I'll go with Arizona here. I think Miami, after last week, I think they're just going to kind of go away. Who knows? This is really tough. Not going to be anywhere near my betting card today, but I'll go Arizona.
Yeah, I'll slightly go with Arizona here. Two things I think that are going to hurt the Dolphins today. No Mike Pouncey, center for them. That offensive line has been really banged up this year.
You get Brandon Albert back.
Offensive line play in particular is really about continuity. You play with those guys for 6, 7, 8, 10 straight games. You start to kind of understand what the guy next to you is going to do. You gel with that person. I mean, you kind of constantly are shuffling these guys in. That's difficult. You kind of see it with the Eagles this year a little bit. And also, one of the better players for the Dolphins also is out. Kiko Alonso, he's not playing. He's had a very good and a very resurgent year for Miami. He's not going to go. Mike Hall's going to fill his spot. So I'm going to go with Arizona. I like backing them at home more so than on the road. Something you alluded to there, Jeff, gave some numbers on how poor they've been on the road. But if Carson Palmer doesn't turn the ball over and they can just kind of feed David Johnson, who's been fantastic this year, all-purpose yards. I think he's been over 100 yards all-purpose in every single game this year, which is pretty remarkable. Just get him the football. Carson Palmer don't turn it over. They should be able to go in there and get a win and cover, I think.
Right. I am one person that definitely likes to talk good about myself. I do try to stay positive with my life, but there can't be, and I definitely co-sign you if you do that. There can't be any more just totally ridiculous statements than what Byron Maxwell said this week. He says he's the best cornerback in the league. I mean, is he? I'm not sure. Is he smoking spice or something? I don't know. Look, you can't be serious with that.
I'm all for being, like you said, positive and optimistic and confident in yourself. But I'm also a realist, and I like being realistic.
Why not just not say anything?
Yeah, Byron Maxwell, look, that was a little far-fetched, obviously.
Is he in the top 50?
Seems that everywhere he goes, no one really wants him the last couple of years. I know, like I mentioned before, some friends of mine are Dolphins fans, and they're ready to just get him out of there, and rightfully so. I mean, Tony Lippett, who was a former wide receiver turned cornerback at Michigan State, is playing better than Byron Maxwell. So that's
Let me ask you, Ryan, who would you rather have as your cornerback? Leotis McKelvin or Byron Maxwell? You have to pick one.
They're both really porous.
McKelvin just because he's cheaper?
I'll say McKelvin, one, because he's cheaper, and one, he actually asserts some effort tackling-wise.
Right.
Which Maxwell doesn't give you at all.
Right.
So,
Rock Carmichael or Byron Maxwell?
Oh, I would take Maxwell. You know how much I hate Rock Carmichael.
Yeah, Rock Carmichael.
He did nothing well. Contributed nothing.
Dimitri Patterson or Byron.
Yeah, we can go back way back to this. Absolutely.
Matt Ware or
Matt Ware actually,
yeah,
not a terrible with nickel corner. Had a big blocked field goal return versus the Chargers to win the game. So,
all right, we'll go Arizona in this game. Miami just kind of, I think, going to fade, and I think we can agree with that. Lions -7 at the Bears, or against the Bears. I'm sorry, this one is in Detroit. Bears at 3-9, Lions 8-4. Detroit good at home, ATS this year 4-1. Chicago has not won a game on the road this year, and they're 1-5 against the spread. Chicago on the road, Ryan, 15 points a game, giving up 28. Matt Barkley, his first road start of his career. Matt Stafford, he's been doing his thing. Lions playing a revenge here. Remember, Ryan, first couple weeks of the season, Bears came back and won that game against Detroit at home. Theo Riddick inactive. Marvin Jones, he is active, so that's a good thing for the Lions. Look, I like what I've seen from Stafford this year. Detroit's defense has looked a lot better recently. Saints couldn't do anything against them last week. I think this might be the blood of the day. And I'll preface this, though. Detroit does not blow people out, it seems like. It seems like every game is within 7 points.
Actually, every game, up until last week, every game was decided within 7 points.
I think they win by double digits in this game, though. I hate the Bears. Team stinks. I backed them last week, though, and they got the job done.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions here. This is a big game. They need to have this.
I really like Detroit.
Divisional game.
They've won 7 of 8. They're playing really good football right now. Defensively, they're starting to kind of get things together. A big guy back in the lineup today to contribute. DeAndre Levy, who has missed 11 games, he's active today. He's going to play, kind of give them a spark there. One of their better players on defense, so he's back. I like the way Stafford's been playing too. Stafford, I have him in one of my fantasy leagues. I have him and Rivers that I kind of just go back and forth with the better matchup. Stafford's been great. Marvin Jones is going to play today. Eric Ebron's going to play today. Theo Riddick's in there. So they got their whole full cast of characters in there today to be able to
Riddick
go
is actually inactive.
Is he inactive?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Just reported.
Oh, did they just report it? Oh, wow. Interesting. Wow. Okay. So he's not going to be in there. And that's a substantial loss, I think, because out of the backfield, he gives them a nice little weapon in the receiving game. But, I'm not really willing to back Matt Barkley on the road in Detroit, a spot. It's going to be pretty difficult because if you remember, Matt Barkley has started 2 games, both games at home. So this will be his first road test.
I guess from what I'm reading here, very surprising that Riddick's not playing today. A lot of people are surprised by that.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I think we'll keep in mind that, the Bears suck. So, it doesn't matter. Lions -7 going to be the play here. 1 o'clock, Vikings -3 against the Jags. This one is in Jacksonville. Jacksonville 2-10 overall. They have not covered a game at home this year. You look at what the Minnesota Vikings have done. At any rate, regardless of how they're playing, they've covered numbers, Ryan. They've covered 9 of 10 against AFC opponents, and they're 31-14 overall the last 3 years against the spread. If you bet the Minnesota Vikings, you've made a lot of money. They have been very good to the number. Minnesota, very good defensively, 17 points a game they're giving up. They really are just, probably one of the better defenses in the league. Are they the best defense in the league, you think?
Minnesota?
Yeah.
They're good.
Very good, yeah.
They're very good.
And Jacksonville's made it clear time and time again that they can't score 18 points a game. They've lost 7 games in a row. Blake Bortles, 15 interceptions on the year. He has been a turnover machine. And you look at, Ryan, turnover differential. I don't think you can get a more it's so unbelievable, the difference here. Vikings, +13. Jags, -18. Blake Bortles is going to make some mistakes in this game. I feel like the Vikings, they have to have this game. I mean, they have to keep trying to win, try to stay close. What is their record, Ryan, the Vikings?
They're 6-6.
So, I mean, they're still in it. You can't lose a game like this.
Have to hope for the wild card at any.
And you have to win games like this. This is a game where Jags have just been. I mean, they really haven't looked good at all, and they don't cover. So, I think Minnesota's a good play today. I think they roll.
Some games today that will kind of show you, I think, where the mindset of some of these teams are. If Minnesota goes into Jacksonville, lays an egg today, loses, they're done. I mean, they'll have packed it in. They're done. A couple other games that we've talked about this afternoon. Teams should be able to go in and win. If not, their season's pretty much finished. Like I said, same thing here with Minnesota. I like Minnesota here. As an Eagles fan, I obviously hope they lose every week to help the draft pick situation. But yeah, the way Bortles has been playing, I mean, really just taking some serious steps back this year. When some people thought going into the year that Raiders were going to be a team that took a step forward, they have, and the Jaguars a team that was going to take a step forward, they haven't. I mean, 2-10. Gus Bradley seems like he's going to get fired. No Allen Hurns today. That's another weapon. No Chris Ivory today. That's
Julius
another
Tom.
guy. So look. I'll go Minnesota. Maybe an interesting line, but at the same time, it's not like Minnesota's 10-2 going in there. They're an average football team. So
right.
That got off to a good 5-0 start and is 1-6 since.
And at the end of the day, they hang their head on defense, and that's going to keep them in the game.
Right.
So we'll lay the number here with the Vikings -3 against Jacksonville. Next one, 1 o'clock. Eagles hosting the Washington Redskins. Redskins laying 2. Look, this is an interesting line here. I think this is great. I think this is one of those games where, if you're looking at the card, I mean, public's been slamming the Redskins. I mean, this looks like a game where it's just like, okay, well, the Redskins just rolling. How can they lose? We remember though, Eagles have been pretty good at home. I mean, they've beaten the Falcons, they've beaten the Vikings, they've beaten the Steelers. They've been a good team at home. For what it's worth. Keep in mind, though, you look at what this Eagles team's done recently. Last 3 games, 14 points a game. giving up 28.
So interesting situation with the Eagles again. So I guess Brandon Brooks just gets sick on game days. He's not going to be in there today.
Wow.
He's inactive again. He felt He felt sick again this morning. So he's inactive. No Green Beckham. He's inactive as well. There's the two.
Do you get Matthews and both Matthews back?
Yeah, Ryan and Jordan. Yes.
Keep in mind, Ryan spells it without 2 T's. Jordan Reed though back for the Minnesota Vikings or Washington Redskins. I'm sorry. What is up with Brandon Brooks? What is up with him?
It's weird.
Vitae not playing either.
He began suffering from illness today. They're saying so. It's the same situation as that Green Bay game. Yeah, Vitae's out. So.
Yeah, so basically your starting offensive line is going to be Jason Peters, Stefan Wisniewski, Kelsey, I guess Alan Barber, and Siamalu at guard.
Yep, I would imagine.
Jesus. Wow. I guess it is a big thing. They're getting back Jordan Matthews. At least you have some sort of safety valve. Look, I will point out, I don't think the Washington Redskins are anything special on defense. I think we can agree with that. But I mean, that Brooks injury is brutal, and that's a tough loss because he's a good offensive lineman, very constant. I mean, Washington 30 points a game. You have to figure Kirk Cousins should be able to kind of do what he wants. It is a home game for the Eagles. It is a revenge game, if that means anything. Listen, I was not happy with what I heard out of this from this Eagles team last week. They looked lost. They quit on their coach, and then their coach is just so delusional after the game. He's saying that what was up with that? I mean, he says, we didn't quit," but then 2 days later, "Oh yeah, well, I think some people did quit." He's lost his team. I feel like I think this team's just going through the motions. Then you have like stuff you mentioned. You mentioned me yesterday about the Dorial Green Beckham stuff with the cleats.
Yeah,
you make a charity up.
I mean pretty clear why he got let go from Tennessee. I'd be kind of surprised if he was back again next year.
However,
that guy's a head case, man, and he doesn't perform.
I can't back the Eagles. Or I can't back the Redskins at this spot. I really can't. I can't. I cannot do this. This looks like a prototypical trap game. And I, again, though, I've seen the Eagles, though. I'm not interested in this game at all. I think it's going to be a wash anyway because I think you like the Redskins here. Yeah, let's push this.
Yeah, we're going to push it because I like Washington. I can't back the Eagles right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't see how you could back the Eagles, and you got a Washington team.
That's the only reason I'm saying
a Washington team coming in here with everything to play for. I mean, Philly has nothing to play for except for pride, and we'll see. We'll learn a lot about the team today. We'll learn a lot about the Eagles today and the direction that possibly this team can go. Because if they come out and get blown out and just get absolutely rolled at home, it's going to be a shit show. Fans are going to go nuts. So let's see.
Doug Peterson's praying that they play well today.
Let's see how they respond after some guys. After Peterson said some guys have quit, let's see how they perform today. I personally I just don't think they have the talent really at this point to really kind of beat Washington. I mean, Washington manhandled them in the first game. I mean, Eagles couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop Rob Kelly, for God's sakes. I'm just not sure how they do it again.
I mean, their defensive line has been lost.
Now you have your best offensive lineman is out, who's ranked like as a 24th, I believe it is, best lineman in football this year. You take him out, you got one less wide receiver out there. I don't see it. And let's see what Peterson does. I saw an interesting stat this morning. In games where they give Ryan Matthews 10 or more carries, Eagles are 6-2. In games they don't, they're like, I don't know, like 2-9 or something like that, something really astronomical. So I'll go Skins and we'll watch here, but we'll sit there. It was classic, Jeff. Remember that? What was it? Last week we watched half an hour of the game, maybe.
Yeah,
and then we just kind of, and then you were doing some other things. I was watching other things. We were. That game last week was one of the worst Eagles games in recent memory.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I think people will point this out. I watch these games to laugh half the time. It's unbelievable how disgusting this team can be at times. They're totally disgusting. Yep. They're hard to watch. And their offense is just pitiful. Their offense I think they have the worst offense in the league. Other than maybe the Rams. I think they have the worst. And at least the Rams have shades of playmakers. They have a Kenny Britt or Todd Gurley if he ever somehow escapes his mysterious status of what he's been up to. But Ryan, interesting. Listen to this.
What's up?
Dug up an old scouting report on Brandon Brooks. And I don't know how And this is probably not true, so I'm not going to really point it out. I'd have to look it up, though. No, again, it was interesting. This guy tweets out, dug up an old scouting report on Brandon Brooks. One scout says, tends to be sick on Sundays. I don't know how true that is. But again, it does seem like
last time he got sick was a Monday night. So, probably just
out of 7 days, he just happens to get sick on the game day.
I don't know.
He ate too much Wawa, probably.
Who knows?
He's been a Wawa fan.
Yeah.
Too many meatball subs, I guess. This team is just laughable, really, anymore. I mean, and in the media around here, I mean, all I've heard is Doug has to go. Doug has to go. Doug has to go. And look, the guy, I just don't think he's a head coach. I really don't. I mean, he can't command troops. He's too nice of a guy. Real quick, do you think this kid can get any better? I mean, as a coach?
Well,
he's very Andy Reid-esque.
I personally think, and this is just my opinion, and I say this about coaches across the league. I think it's unfair for new head coaches to be fired within 3 years because it takes time, and I know fans don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that. They don't. I mean, and I don't like hearing either. But it takes time for these new head coaches to come into these situations. Bad teams, when you get a new head coach, the team that you're coming into is bad. There's holes. It takes some time. So I think you need to give him another year or two. We'll see. Look, they gave Chip Kelly 3 years. Didn't like the direction he was taking the team in, and they got rid of him. So let's see what the Eagles. Let's see what the Eagles do going forward. I personally wouldn't. He's inherited a pretty lackluster roster. So let's see if they can kind of get some new guys in here and get some weapons for
people
Wentz.
Laugh all the time that Cowboys should never win a Super Bowl with Jerry Jones. Eagles never won a Super Bowl with Jeffrey Lurie. I'm sorry. I mean, the guy's not a good owner. I don't know how many times he'd say it. Look, making stadium changes, he's been good. Charities, he's been good.
Yeah.
But on the field, he has no idea what he's doing. Wow, I haven't eaten there in 17 years. Sucks to be you. Wawa has great meatballs, dude. I will point that out.
They just have good everything.
Yeah, a lot of
Wawa's
their
a good spot.
Really good. Yeah, I spent a lot of time there when I'm down at the shore. I feel the Skins win 2 in cover versus Jordan. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at this line and saying this just has the feel to. If you're a casual bettor on from Nebraska and you're looking at the card today, and you see this game, what are you betting? I mean,
yeah,
that's just the point.
I know.
And I'm going to tell you right now, one of these weeks coming up, the public's going to get crushed because they've had a great year. Eventually, they're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
So we'll side on a push on that one. You like the Redskins. I kind of like the Eagles on the line. So we'll push on that one. Ryan, let's jump into the 4 o'clock games.
Yep.
We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I don't give a flying fuck. Niners laying 3 against the Jets. San Francisco, one of the worst against the spread teams in the NFL. 2 horrible defenses. What does that say, Ryan?
Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. But we'll pick this game because that's what we do here. I'm going to go with the 49ers. I don't know why. Again, though, I think Todd Bowles is on his way out.
This is terrible. Look, if Bowles was smart, he wouldn't have Bryce Petty just stand back there and chuck the ball around. Give the ball to Forte. Let them run on this porous defense. So we'll see. We'll see maybe if that can happen. I'll side with the Niners with you though.
Yeah, we're back on a 1-11 team here, but they're back at home, so maybe they play well.
Both these teams are just awful. I mean, they should have just canceled this game.
425 Bucks -1.5 against the Saints. How about the Bucks? 7-5. How about that?
They've won 4 in a row, Jeff.
Yeah, 51 on the total. New Orleans Saints 5-0 as an underdog this year, and they've covered 13 of 16 as an underdog. They're 4-0 ATS on the road, and Tampa hasn't been good at home. They've definitely given up a lot of passing touchdowns. They've given up 22 passing touchdowns this year, Ryan, and they're allowing almost 13 yards per reception.
Who is that? Is that Tampa?
That's Tampa,
That's
yeah.
Tampa.
You have to figure Drew Brees. You look at his last 5 games against the Bucks. Ryan, take a guess what he averages yards per game. Last 5 against the Bucks.
Drew Brees, you said?
Yeah.
305.
335 yards a game. Just pot-shotting the Bucks. Look, Jameis Winston has the ability to throw a lot of interceptions. And get a listen to this, Ryan. Last 4 games, Winston's been sacked 13 times. not good. Am I ready to trust the Bucs? I don't know. I mean, they played well. Who knows? I'll go over 51. I think both these teams will score. I don't really think the Bucs are that good on defense, and I know the Saints are. So I'm going to go over.
I'll go over as well. I think this could definitely be a shootout. Bucs have played in some shootouts this year. First off, who made the schedule? These teams play today, and then they play a game next week, and then they play each other again in New Orleans. That's odd. I remember the Eagles had that, I think, last year or 2 years ago, and I personally hate it. I think it's ridiculous. The fact that these two teams play twice in the span of 3 weeks is comical to me. I think some points should be scored. Drew Brees, not as good on the road as he is at home, but does play really well against the Bucs. And the Bucs are playing well right now. Jameis Winston playing some good football. Mike Evans should be able to have a big day today against that New Orleans defense. I'll go over.
I don't know. Devin Breaux, though, pretty good corner. Maybe he could shut down Mike Evans.
Mike Evans. I don't think anyone can shut down Mike Evans.
Right. We'll go over 51 in this one. 425. Seahawks -3 against the Green Bay Packers. Over-under is 45. Now, remember, guys, game is in Siberia today. So, just remember that.
Yeah.
I think it's a massive overreaction. I think they're trying to get some Packer money in here. Aaron Rodgers can't lose at home. Aaron Rodgers, John Elway, look, at the end of the day, their offense hasn't been that good this year. Defensively, I think they're vulnerable. I think the Packers are a team that's a little overrated year after year. I like the Seahawks. Look, defensively, they're very good. They've been better on the road than the normal. And look, Ryan, Russell Wilson finally has a run game to kind of fall back on. Last 3 games, 173 rushing yards per game. How about that?
Yep.
They've also, Seattle, how about 17-3 over the last 20 games in December? Weather conditions, I think it's going to favor Seattle here. Look, I don't like to bet against your buddy Aaron Rodgers, but for whatever reason, I just don't see it with him this year. I know he's had a good year, but it seems like he's a little lost. At times. I don't know why, but I'm going to go with Seattle. It's tough losing Earl Thomas. That's a big loss, but they still have a very capable defense.
Yeah, I kind of actually lean Seattle as well. I know a lot of people probably think snow at home, Lambeau.
By the way, snow doesn't mean much of anything in games. I mean, we really. Yeah. Can we stop with that?
Lean Green Bay, but I just Rodgers battling that hamstring injury. I mean, he was feeling it last week in that game. Constantly limping around and looked like he might have re-aggravated at times. So against a really kind of defense that can get after you with Seattle, it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. This
You're also going to wonder how mobile he'll be today.
That's
with the injury
with the hamstring injury. That's part of Aaron Rodgers' game is extending plays and throwing the ball downfield on the run, which is something which I think he's probably the best in the league at doing. He's fantastic at doing it, but the injury really kind of lingers and hinders him. I like the fact what Thomas Rawls has brought back to this team with Seattle, something you alluded to, which was something I was going to get at. He's been fantastic ever since coming back, which in a game like this, he should be able to feed, and Russell Wilson should be able to make some plays. I like Seattle. I do. Seattle usually plays well down the stretch. Green Bay has to win the remainder of their games to have a chance to get into the playoffs. Tough task starting it off tonight against Seattle.
Yeah, and it just looks like Seattle's just kind of starting to get going here, and this is what they do. I mean, they play well in December. They really hit you in the mouth defensively, and again, they still have Russell Wilson, so good luck. As far as the weather conditions over in Green Bay, I just wanted to kind of look at that and see.
It's snowing.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I wanted to see if it's going to snow.
Wind or something?
Well, no, I want to see if it's going to be snowing 5 hours from now when the game starts. And again, I am a weather guy, so I like to take a look at that. So, just point out, guys, don't just go with what is showing on TV. Actually go on the weather sites, look at the radar, see how snowy it's going to be, if you care that much. I'll go see
the forecast is calling for snow showers during the game, so I'll point that
out. Final game at 4, Falcons -5.5 against the Rams, over under 45. Ron, we talk about it week after week because the Falcons have been a favorite a lot. They don't cover as a favorite. Have covered recently, though. I think the last 2 games as a favorite they've covered. Look, they're good on the road. This Rams defense has been a mess. I mean, 30 points a game over the last 3. Now they got to face the best offense in the league. Rams at home this year, 12 points a game. Jared Goff against Matt Ryan, one of the more, total mismatch there, if you ask me. Rams have lost 6 of 7. The one win came against the Jets, 9-6. Gurley has been MIA all year. Goff hasn't really gotten it going. One lone bright spot for the Rams, Aaron Donald, 26 sacks in his career, so pretty good.
It doesn't sound like Julio. It doesn't sound like they're optimistic he's going to play. He's obviously going to give it a go in warm-ups, but from what Schefter was reporting this morning, they're kind of pessimistic that he's going to be able to.
If I were them, maybe look to gap him as make a decoy, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he'll maybe be in there, maybe won't do much, but again, we've talked about it. When he's in a game and doesn't perform well, they actually perform a lot better as a team. We'll see. I'm still going to go with Atlanta. Off of they're kind of battling it out with the Bucks. The game they need in the division or conference here. I'll go with the Falcons.
Yeah, you look at the Rams over a nice little stretch where they were playing close games against Detroit, the Giants, the Panthers, the Jets. And then they get to that Miami game where they're up 14-0, they're up 10-0 with 5 minutes to go. They give back-to-back touchdown drives up to Miami, and they lose that game. I think that was the nail in their coffin. You look at the last 2 games since then, 29-21 loss at New Orleans and a 26-10 loss at New England that they were really never in. I think that game against Miami just really kind of put the nail in their coffin and really cemented their season as to just like, all right, we're done, we're good, let's call this a year, we're 4-8. We're not going to get to those 9 wins that Jeff Fisher thought we were going to be able to get to this year. In or out of the lineup, as Julio Jones, I still like Tampa here.
And this
Atlanta,
this Rams defense has been horrible. I mean, they've been really bad, giving up a ton of passing yards. They've just, their defensive front's pretty good, but against the Falcons, you got to be able to stop the pass, and I don't think the Rams can do that. I think the Rams get crushed in this game.
Yeah, not a game I'm particularly.
I think this is like a 37-17 type of game.
Okay.
I'll go Falcons in this one. We agree with this one. Our final game, 8 o'clock, 8:30 Eastern. Cowboys can clinch the NFC East with a victory here. They're on the road at the Giants, 47 on a total. I think the New York Giants are really overrated. I mean, how they have, 8 wins, I don't know. Got to feel like Dallas will come out here. And look, the first game of the year, I don't put a lot of stock in that. First game of the year, they lose. Haven't lost since. I like the Dallas Cowboys in this game.
I like the Cowboys as well. I'm not really interested in kind of going against them right now. They're the best team in football right now, and they have a playoff spot locked up. But look, they can win the division tonight. The Giants. Look, I've said for weeks that I'm not a big fan of the Giants. I'm not sure how they're 8-4. I think they have had some things go their way this year that have kind of pointed that total upwards. But the way Dallas is playing, dude, I'm not interested in kind of going against them right now. They should have won that game week 1 too if Terrence Williams gets out of bounds and they give Bailey a chance to kick a field goal, which he seems to never miss. So, look, I like Dallas here. Look, who's playing better than the Cowboys? No one.
No.
So I'm not interested in going against the best and hottest team in football right now. I'm not going to do it.
Our games today: Dallas -3.5, Falcons -5.5, Seahawks -3, Niners -3, over 51, Saints Bucks. Push on Eagles Redskins, or nothing in that game. Vikings -3, Lions -7, Cardinals -2.5, Steelers -3. We don't have an underdog on this card.
Jeez.
Colts -6.5 and the over 47.5. Bengals -5.5. San Diego at a pick.
Okay.
And over 43.5 Titans Broncos. We don't have an underdog, Ryan.
That doesn't bode well.
None of the underdogs really. I can't really look to back any of them. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure it'll happen, but
So if the pub is going to get crushed today, we might get crushed. But look, we've done well, so we'll see. I really don't care though, because none of these underdogs I want to back, honestly.
Sure.
And then some of the games we took totals, so
Yeah, we'll see.
So
how it plays out.
That Jets game could go either way. Who knows?
We'll see. All you can do is wait and see.
Yeah. So I wouldn't look to bet against us, but we'll see how it goes. Ryan, Army finally beats Navy. 15. It would have been 15 in a row. How about that? Navy had an ability to stay in the game, but just couldn't get a big play late in the game. Army, look, defense win championships, and they played well defensively for us. Overcame 4 turnovers in that game. Get the win. Good for them, because they were playing for a lot.
I think Army, a huge win for Army. Obviously, a big benefactor of some key injuries for Navy going into the game that obviously hurt. Starting running back, starting quarterback Woolworth didn't play. So, but hey, you still have to play the game. You still have to go out there and strap it up, and they did that. And like you said, coming over 4 turnovers, that's impressive. Usually, if you lose the turnover battle, you're not going to win. So yeah, kudos to them kids. Kudos to Army, and kudos to the kid. What was the kid's name that passed away?
Brandon Jackson.
Brandon Jackson. Kudos to them for. Obviously, that was a big thing that they wanted to win for him. You
got to figure
kudos to Army, because it's well deserved. Now those guys can go out and say, "Look, we stopped the streak. We beat Navy."
And now they play a bowl game against North Texas that beat them earlier this year. Final game of the year. Going to be exciting. Army had to figure they're going to win at some point. What better week than this week to do it? So good for those kids. I really enjoy that. That's a great game to kind of. We were listening to it on the radio.
Yep.
It was I watched some of the highlights. Always cool to see that. Very good pageantry there. I saw Donald Trump had an interview. By the way, he didn't like how the game was played. He didn't like that kind of football.
Yeah.
Donald Trump didn't come across me as a sports guy, though.
Not at all.
You were choked up about Vern Lundquist. Did you see that interview?
I wasn't choked up. Well, he was choked up.
By the way, kind of lame if you ask me. I mean, it's like he's retiring. I mean,
from football,
who cares?
And this will be his. And this will be
good.
And I'm pretty sure this will be his last. It will be his last March Madness and his last Masters.
Good.
So I think this will be his last kind of go around. But a lot of people like Vern Lundquist, myself included, and I think he enjoys what he does, and he's done it for so long, and kudos to him.
I will say though, I would take him any day over Gus Johnson.
Well,
Gus Johnson.
I would take Vern Lundquist over a lot of people. So.
And one other thing, Ryan, before we go, this really shapes up to be a fantastic year in college basketball. UCLA.
Yep.
How about them last night?
Yep.
Duke beat UNLV by 50.
Yep.
Kansas looks great. Kentucky looks great.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this team, UCLA. I mean, Lonzo Ball, T.J. Leaf, Isaac Hamilton, Holiday, Bryce Alford.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, Thomas Waltz was injured last night.
Yep.
They still won big.
Yep.
This team's good, man. They're really good.
Well, sure they're good.
Score 100 points again.
I say they score. They score the ball at will. So.
By the way, first 10-0 start for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Yeah. How about that? And by the way, Ryan, that schedule they have beaten, really good. They beat a lot of good teams. Iowa State, a couple others. Kentucky's played well. Duke, though, Grayson Allen yesterday, how about him? 34 points. I thought he was a little hurt in the other game against Florida. Did you see that dunk yesterday?
Of course. Yep.
Duke is good.
They're good.
Man.
There's a lot of teams that are good this year. There are a lot of teams that have a lot of firepower, and a lot of teams that seemingly can make a deep run in March and get to the Final Four. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, it'll be interesting to see what these teams do come conference time, because that is when teams make their money. That's when teams make their bread and kind of can separate themselves. Let's see what some of these teams do. Sean makes a good point about UCLA, tough schedule in conference. Let's see how they battle. So it'll be interesting to see kind of going forward into conference how these teams. So
Pac-12 stinks.
Couple big games yesterday. Villanova got a win. You talk about UCLA got a win. Duke kills. So going forward, it'll be interesting to see. Who kind of separates themselves, and maybe who kind of comes back down to earth after a hot start.
Yeah, it's really going to be fun. I think it should be a great winter for college basketball.
Yeah.
Really going to be fun. So we'll see how that goes. Villanova, they were down 11 points yesterday.
Yeah, big gritty win, and they cover.
That's a good win. Notre Dame's a good basketball team, so we'll see. I don't think you can count out those guys. Notre Dame or Creighton and Butler and those teams as well. So a lot of good. Wichita State, they actually had a battle yesterday. They got a big win against Oklahoma on a neutral court.
Right.
So lot to do. Ryan, you got to get involved with college basketball. You haven't done much this year.
Yeah,
with that.
I mean, I'm starting to get into it a little bit. I hadn't been into it to start the year as much as some people, but look. It seems to that's just kind of the way I kind of handle things with sports. Like, I was knee deep in college football and NFL. Now that those seasons are pretty much done for me, I pretty much will obviously turn my attention to college basketball. And like you said, Jeff, a lot of good teams and a pretty exciting start. So I'm looking forward to digging into it.
Yeah, for sure. We will be back tomorrow with another show, 5 o'clock Eastern. I'll be back, actually. And I'll break down the Monday card. Don't know how heavy that will be, just because Monday's usually a slow day in college football or basketball. So bowls are coming up, Ryan. This week we will delve into those.
Saturday is the first game.
So we'll delve into the first. We did a couple different shows last year. What we might do this year, we just might try to bang them out in one show. I don't know. Just try to keep track of how we doing them and see what happens. Everyone have a great night. We'll be back next time with another edition of the show. Let's try to have a big NFL day today. A lot of favorites, Ryan, we're going with.
Yeah.
But we'll see how we do. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next time on the Big Meadow Campus. Bye-bye.